we are changing things up with some different content. For today's episode, an interview with David Gharabaghi Stuckler. You know the deal, and you know what time it is. It's time for Team Melli Talk. He is half Iranian and currently playing in Italy. Hey everyone, welcome back to Team Melli Talk. For this special edition, I had the opportunity to interview David Gharabaghi Stuckler of Cremonese in Italy. Hope you enjoy the interview. And for today's special edition of Team Melli Talk, I am joined by David Gharabaghi Stuckler, currently playing for Cremonese at the U19 level in Italy. David, welcome to Team Melli Talk. It's great to have you on the show, man.
Thank you. It's great to be here, man. Thank you.
As we're about to get started, for our viewers, let's go over, how the season has gone. How the season has gone for David. 15 goals and 3 assists in 26 appearances, if I'm not mistaken. This is for Cremonese. I'm at the U19 level, but I believe the official name of the team is Cremonese Primavera. So what is the name of the league that you play in? I mean, is it called the Serie A Youth League, or is there another official name?
The league we play in is called Primavera 2, specifically Primavera 2A. There's a Primavera 1, and then there's 2 Primavera 2s, a Primavera 2A and a Primavera 2B. And, it's divided by the Primavera B is more in the south of Italy. And, I'm in the Primavera A because I'm in the more of the northern part of Italy. So it's the Primavera 2A I'm playing in.
Before joining Cremonese, you were playing for Akademisk in Denmark at the U19 level. So, tell me about your football upbringing, and when did you discover that football was your main passion?
Yeah, already when I think I was 3 years old when I started playing football. It's always been in my family. My big brother was a professional football player, so I've started at a young level, and I fell in love with the game very quickly. My dad always taught me how to play. He always went to my games, and I always had the family support with football. And I played at AB until Academy Sport Club until I was 11 years old. Then I got a few offers from some better teams, where I then went ahead and transferred to FC Nordsjælland, the team who got second in the Superliga this year. And I stayed there 2.5 years, but it wasn't really the best club for me. I didn't play so much, so I decided to return to AB for my own development. And then I played there for another 3 years before getting the opportunity to go on trial here. And then they wanted me here. I came right away.
Awesome, really great to hear. And you mentioned your father, and obviously for our viewers, we look at it. David's full name, David Gharabaghi Stuckler. So of course, your father was from Iran, and so of course he had an influence on you. I mean, what can you tell us about your dad in terms of like how he would talk about football with you? I mean, was he big on the national team? Did he have a favorite club team in Iran?
Hey, yes, my dad was always big on football. It was everything. We watched football almost every day in my house. He went to all my games, all my brother's games. Football was just a big part of our life. And my dad and his family is from Tabriz, so his favorite team was Tractor.
Okay, Tractor. I remember there was a time when they were officially called, Tractor Sazi. And so I mean, of course, not to put you on the spot, but if you had to pick one favorite team in the Iran Pro League, would it probably be Tractor?
I think it would be, yeah. My whole family is from Tabriz, so I guess I would have to go with that team. Yes.
Okay, and have you actually been to Tabriz before?
Yes, I've been there 3 times, I think. I've been to Iran 3 times. I've only been to Tabriz, I think. I never went to the capital, Tehran, not as I remember. But yeah, I've visited my family down there 3 times. And I'm looking forward to visiting them again. It's 3 years ago I was visited them, maybe 4 as well.
All right, awesome. Well, of course, I hope you get to go there again soon. Of course, we're still on the topic of your family, and of course, to our viewers, Daniel, who is David's older brother, he was a guest on Team Melli Talk, our podcast about 4 years ago. How much of an influence has your brother Daniel had on you, David?
I said I started at a very young age, and that was also kind of his fault because he was already a professional football player at that time. He already had a contract with a professional team, and I've always looked up to him. He's always been an idol for me. I've always wanted to play just like him. That's why he's a striker, and I'm a striker as well. So yeah, I always come to him for advice. He's a mentor for me. He's always there when I need him. So yeah, that's how it is.
Okay, before joining Cremonese, were you following Italian football very much?
I was following it quite a bit, but now that I'm actually here and see how people are here, everyone talks about it every day. Like every restaurant you go to, there's a screen where it plays Serie A. So yeah, now I'm really really into it actually.
In your opinion, though, what are the biggest differences between football in Denmark and football in Italy? And of course, I'm talking about tactics and the way the game is played.
I mean, in Denmark, is more there has to be pressure on the ball all times. It's more an attacking form of defense, but in here, is more about defending. Standing your ground. Not letting them score is very important here, and also, is more of a technical game here. In Denmark, is more physical. Run fast, be strong, but here is they understand the importance of the technical qualities, and the beauty of it, and that's what I really like about it. And I think there's a lot more passion here compared to in Denmark about football. So yeah, it's more defensive here.
I've heard that you've started training with the first team of Cremonese. How has this experience been for you?
It's been incredible. To go from a Danish team to training with a Serie A team is absolutely incredible. I've trained with them since the start of the new year. I've trained with them regularly, 2 or 3 times a week, some weeks even four. And it's an incredible experience. You learn so much. The level is so high, and it develops you uh, as a football player. And I'm very grateful for that experience.
Going back to something we talked about earlier, when I was asking you about the differences between football in Denmark and football in Italy, I actually want to say that I'm not surprised at all to hear what you said because, for many years of me watching football, I've seen Italian national team play so many times, and yeah, they're very good with controlling the ball. They wear down their opponents. I mean, so based on the footballing culture you were brought up in, this clearly is a situation where this really is adding so much more to your skill and your technique as well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm learning an entirely new form of football. In Denmark is so different, and I've growing up, I've only played like the form they play in Denmark, but now I'm learning how they play here as well. So it's very great for my development. So yeah, I'm very grateful for this.
And growing up in Denmark, though, who would have been your favorite player for the national team of Denmark? For like your generation, who was the player that you would always be following? Who was like the star of Denmark you were big on?
I've always loved Christian Eriksen. He's always been a top player. He's played in the Premier League, in the Serie A. He's an incredible player, and I think if you ask a lot of Danish people, they will have the same answers as I have.
Well, of course, can't be surprised. In my head, I was thinking probably it would have been Christian Eriksen, but it's worth asking the question just because you never know. Not everyone's going to like the same player, from their favorite from the national team they support a lot, or the country they grew up in. I mean, from my point of view, when I look back at who was my first favorite player for Team Melli, the national team of Iran, obviously it was Ali Daei. But we'll get to Team Melli a little bit more later. But of course, right now I want to continue sticking on the topic of your team, Cremonese. And the head coach of Cremonese is, I believe his name is David Ballardini. and he has a pretty big CV when it comes to managing other teams in Italy. So, I mean, have you had a lot of interaction with Ballardini?
I mean, it was after he came to the club that I really started training with the first team. Before I hadn't trained with the first team, but when he came, he started calling younger players up to train with the first team. And he's an incredible coach. I've learned so much from him and his assistants. Very nice people as well. So yeah, is he's done a lot for my development here.
Now let's talk about like you're up, your parents, and of course, the influence of basically the countries where your parents come from. So you were born in Denmark, your mother is Austrian, and of course, your father was Iranian. So do you pay attention and keep up with all three national teams?
I do, especially in the big tournaments. Here at the World Cup, it was only Denmark and Iran because Austria didn't qualify. But also at the Euros, I keep up with Austria, but it's mostly Denmark and Iran who are the who play very well, who play at maybe a little bit of a higher level than Austria sometimes. So yeah, keep up with them all.
All right, now here's a question I've really really been wanting to ask, and that is whenever it's time for the World Cup draw, are you always hoping that Denmark and Iran don't get drawn into the same group?
Yeah, of course. I'm hoping they play against each other, but only in the final. So I hope they, stay away from each other, and get their own path, and then meet in the final. That's the greatest thing for me to happen.
Well, I like hearing that. And, of course, to our viewers, there's a lot of things I don't always share. So I've not really shared too much, but, my mom is Mexican. And I was at the game in 2006 between Iran and Mexico in Germany. And that was my form of torture. That's all I could say.
Yeah, I understand that.
All right, next, let's talk about the national team of Iran. How much do you keep up with the national team of Iran? And do you have a favorite Iranian footballer?
I mean, I keep up with them as much as I can, at the World Cup, at the big tournaments, but it's rather difficult here in Denmark and Italy because the games are not being broadcasted on the television. So it's kind of difficult like this, but I try my best to keep up with them, especially at the World Cup and the big tournaments. I watch every game. So yeah, and the players, I like strikers like I am myself. So maybe Taremi, or maybe Sadar Azmoun as well. They're two very incredible players who play for big European clubs. So yeah, those two are probably my favorite players.
Of course, you mentioned that you are a striker, and yeah, this all makes perfect sense. And yes, I'll be quick to tell you, yeah, Osmoon definitely my favorite player. But I think for me, it's close. It's him and Mehdi Taremi. So yeah, we both have this. We both have these players in common for sure. I mean, both these players have been doing great things for Iran, and Mehdi Taremi, I think, actually is really taken the spotlight as the star of the national team of Iran in recent years for sure.
He's been scoring a lot of goals also in Porto, the his club. So yeah, he's been doing a great job, and he also scored a few goals at the World Cup. Yeah, he's a great player. And Sadar Azmoun plays for a big club as well, and he's a great player that I look up to.
And with you being a professional footballer, I really like get asking these questions. These very technical questions. Looking back at the 2022 World Cup, a lot of Iranian football fans, a lot of Team Melli supporters, were very upset. With the way Iran got eliminated from the 2022 World Cup, a 1-0 loss to the United States. In your opinion, from what you remember in that match, what do you think were the biggest mistakes that Iran made in that match against the United States?
Yeah, as happy as I was when they won against as I was when they won against Wales, as sad was I when they got eliminated. I sat there and watched the game, and I felt like some passion was missing, some hunger to score goals to go and win this. I feel like the first 70 minutes, 75 minutes, the United States had complete control of the game, and it was only towards the end that Iran really showed something, and then it was already a bit too late. So yeah, maybe if they went out from the start of the game with that same energy as they had and the same hunger, the same passion as they had towards the end, maybe think the result would have been different.
Yeah, of course, that's a game. I don't really like to look back on too much, but of course, at this point, you look at and you just say it's in the past. You got to move on. But yeah, there's always once in a while, there's always those what ifs. It's always wondering, like you said, I like when you mentioned that you mentioned the words hunger, passion, to score goals. There should have been more of that sense of urgency. Let's go for the win, and let's not just play for a tie. Even though the tie would have been good enough, but playing for a tie, in my opinion, is playing in football. Playing for a tie is like playing with fire.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I never like that. Always have to win, no matter the circumstances.
Okay, so as a Danish footballer with Iranian and Austrian roots, you are eligible to play for 3 national teams. But my question for you here is: have you been approached by the Denmark Football Association to represent Denmark at possibly, at the U19 or U20 levels?
Until now, no national team has contacted me about the possibility to play for them. So yeah, now I'm just focused on my club football, trying to do my best, and then we'll see what happens in the future. Hopefully, there will be a call up.
Of course, absolutely hoping for that for you as well. And as we're getting closer to wrapping up this edition of Team Melli Talk, I just want to real quickly, I have to bring this question up, and I'm sure you cannot be surprised by it. But if the opportunity were to present itself, would you be willing to suit up for Team Melli, the national team of Iran?
Yeah, right now I'm just focusing on as I said before, I'm just focusing on my club football, trying to do my best, and then yeah, if the call up arrives, I'll be very honored, and but now I'm just focusing on the present, and yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. I'll be very honored to play for Team Melli, though.
David, I would just like to thank you for taking the time to join me on Team Melli Talk. It really was a pleasure to have you on the show. It's great to hear about, how things are going for you at Cremonese. And, I just want you to know I will surely be keeping up with you and, how you're doing, with your professional football career.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me here. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, that's it for the interview. Once again, a special thank you to David Gharabaghi Stuckler for taking the time to appear on Team Melli Talk. Hope to see you playing soon for the first team of Cremonese. And that's it, everybody, for this edition of Team Melli Talk. As always, really do appreciate the support. Make sure you get to our website, www.teammelitalk.com. Remember, this is your best source for the latest news on Team Melli, the national team of Iran. Make sure you find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You know the handle, at Team Melli Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit that notification button. See you on the next edition of Team Melli Talk.